Hello, everyone. Spirit House here. I am reading from the Message of the Divine Iliad by Walter Russell, Volume 2. And I am in part 1. This is part 2, 5 lectures. And I am on the lecture titled The New World Thought, part 7. We'll be reading starting at part 7 today. It is titled The Modern Renaissance. The Modern Renaissance. The secret of nature's omnipotent power is in her unity. In all her manifestations, she says to man, quote, I am a balanced two-way reciprocating unit. Emulate my balanced two-way actions, and your works will endure forever. Otherwise, I shall destroy them as I shall destroy all unbalance. Unquote. Man's philosophy is full of epigrams such as, in unity there is strength, unquote. Quote, united we stand, divided we fall, unquote. But they have been but words of no meaning, for man is only beginning to comprehend the meaning of practice of unity. Nature is the one teacher. There is no other. As we learn to comprehend and obey nature, we also learn how to command her. Until then, we are slaves of our ignorance, punishing ourselves by our unbalanced practices and wasting our energies in the founding of institutions which cannot possibly endure the censorship of nature. Civilization has 5 great elements: art, religion, government, science, and industry. Of these 5, art alone is enduring because its expressions in sculpture, architecture, music, painting, and literature, to say nothing of the dance and the drama, are based upon the balanced rhythms of nature. Except for their art forms, whole civilizations pass into oblivion. Art, the most important and most neglected of the elements, is today the only gauge of world culture, for it alone has balance. All else passes, art alone endures. As government, industry, religion, and science find balance, they also will become gauges of world culture. Here we go with Mercury retrograde again with the speech. It's really affecting my speech. Art which is unbalanced and ugly will not endure. It is self-destructive. World religion is dangerously unbalanced because the multiple founders of its many forms, creeds, doctrines, and rituals have conceived so many impossible gods in their search for the one that human reason has been rising in rebellion for years. The new hope for religion is through a greater comprehension of nature which scientific research is rapidly making possible. It is only through such a comprehension that the many religions will become unified and the new separated warring religious groups will tear down their many dividing walls and find their basic oneness in a greater comprehension of the nature of God. Governments have usurped an authority they did not possess, even to claiming divine rights. Their unbalance bred a corroding corruption which quickly destroyed them. Government is still the most unstable and corrupt of all the elements, but curiously enough, is seeking motes in industry's eyes, forgetful of its own beams. Nevertheless, all governments are hysterically trying to find the key to the mutual good of the whole, even though that whole is limited to their own citizens. New experiments in group living are still taking place just as they did eons ago. We criticize them severely, forgetful of the fact that they are but nature's reactions to the imperfections of the forms of governments from which they sprang. Surely our monarchies and republics cannot claim freedom from gross error. The many recurrent civil wars, revolutions, and labor troubles indicate the unbalance of extremely faulty systems. All governments are badly unbalanced. What matter which one is more or less so? What matter if there are many errors in the readjustment which nature is forcing upon every unbalanced government in its attempt to unify the people of this whole world? That is what nature is surely doing, and feeble man must obey whether he will or no. One world government is on the way, and the many transformations which are taking place are inevitably leading to unity. The greater minds and the more balanced governments will lead the way, and weaker ones must follow as mass culture rises. Certain it is, however, that the days of world empire building by the black thread thought of governmental aggression must end. And the world which has become strong by the power of might must return its booty to the power of right, or else shed more blood for dollars. Certain it is, too, that the days of huge armaments for the protection of just peoples are numbered. Whether we realize it or not, the peoples of this whole world, are all seeking freedom and happiness, group for group, and nation for nation, but all are filled with their own group grievances against mutual injustice. Hence the hate and hence the armament. The present world turmoil is merely the hysteria of readjustment. Those groups which might desire to give justice and demand it need no armaments. The power of right is conquered through the force of the world thought of good. This world thought is permeating the masses, and the mass educational process now in the world vogue will replace international hate-breeding fears with a desire for international justice. The time is near when no government in the world will be strong enough to command its armies to attack a right-thinking neighbor. Science has made greater strides in the last generation than during all previous history. It is through science that a new comprehension of the cosmos is possible, but it is also through science that civilization can be destroyed. Industry and science are wedded for constructive purposes, while government and science are wedded for destructive purposes. When religion and science wed, mankind will be illumined with new knowing. Industry is further on the road to the balance which ensures stability than either of the other elements, save art. Industry is fast throwing its jungle philosophy overboard, hook, line, and sinker, and replacing self-interest with nature's principle of mutual interchange for the good of all mankind. Industry and religion are mating. They are keeping company 7 days a week instead of the 1 day of former years. In its new practice of ethics, which is following the golden thread of good, industry will become the greatest civilizing power we have yet known, art not accepted. The world of industry speaks the same language, but it has one desire, that of unifying international industry for the purpose of furthering the mutual interchange of those commodities, which give the people of the world their means of self-expression through creative work. Industry is internationally minded, and that mind condition develops the best that is in man. World culture takes on an ascendancy through internationally minded men. While governments have built empires through conquest of other nations by war, industry has conquered nations by peaceful means of mutual service. Now, keep in mind this was written, side note, written in 48 and 49, these two books were, 1948 and 1949, so industry kind of went down the wrong path as well. Not all of it, but, just keep that in mind. By observing God's law of rhythmic balanced interchange, nations have mutually given themselves to each other instead of being taken by the power of might. Great mutual corporations such as International Harvester, Standard Oil, General Electric, Westinghouse, International Business Machines, and many others, IBM, which is IBM, and many others have been given whatever they desired of foreign territories, being received with open arms of welcome. Through such peaceful plans of conquest by industry, the future empires of interchange of material goods will be built. And such empires will last, for they are to be founded upon the rock of universal law instead of upon the sands of opposition to universal law. Because of this growth of industry along ethical lines, its power will multiply as the seeds multiplies. It is strangely coincident that American industry is taking over the golden thread code of ethical practice, while China is taking over the methods of America to give force to its ethics. East and West are meeting, and each is giving to the other. We of the West have formerly looked upon the Chinese as heathens to whom we sent our missionaries to teach the brotherly love principle of Christianity. We, whose average of murders was 1 every 30 minutes, might well have been the recipients of missionaries from China to teach us the code of ethics of a people who had but 1 murder in many years in a city of 1 million people. The brutal war history of the empire-building period of slaughter for the possessions of others has left us an inheritance of criminality which is one of our greatest menaces. The sanctioning of national criminality has fathered individual criminality. Western theocracy has preached brotherly love as a religion for centuries, but it has not practiced it, while China has held its people together by practicing it as a code of ethics for 5,000 years. The golden thread of the East is now brilliantly illumining the pattern of Western business practices and spreading its gospel around the world more effectually by practice than all the centuries of preaching it without practice have done. This trend of thought could be well summed up by the words of the late Sir Edward Beatty, who said, "As between nations, so between classes. Fear breeds hate, hate breeds war. Little kindnesses constitute the march to better things." Unquote. The practice of the moral issue rather than preaching it is well manifested in the words of Thomas J. Watson, who said, quote, "In all the 79 countries in which we do business, we are all one brotherhood. We have but one thought, one creed, mutual helpfulness to each other. We feel the brotherhood in our very handshake. It is real. Our very real language is a universal one. We all understand each other, no matter what our tongue. We want that friendliness to reach out into every other business." Unquote. Through industry, man has at least discovered man. Man is our most vital necessity. We need him, cries industry, and something must be done to prevent governments from killing him. Equally important is the necessity of bettering his condition. Industry has suddenly realized that its 10,000 new products were undreamed of luxuries to the illiterate factory slum dweller who was chained for long hours to the treadmill. What is the use of producing luxuries which cannot be consumed? Asked capital, inventor, and manufacturer. Standardized mass production needs a mass consumer. The only mass consumer is man in the mass, and man in the mass is chained to the treadmill. He needs no luxuries. He has neither the time nor the mentality to enjoy them. Release him from his slavery, cries the world, discovering the fallacy of a freedom which bound its masses to the galley chains of an unbalanced industry. Give him better wages so he can buy our product, says Henry Ford, astounding the world with an unheard of wage raise. Free him from the curse of philanthropy. Stop patronizing him. Make him independent. Invent things for him to buy. Shorten his hours. Teach him better things. Give him what he wants and educate him to make our luxuries his necessities, cries Charles Kettering. Take him into partnership with us. Let him help run our industries, urges Paul Litchfield, and as he established a mutual governing body in the Goodyear Rubber Company. Give him better homes, insists Governor Walter J. Kohler, following it up by replacing his factory slums with a modern city of homes which arouse the admiration of the beauty-loving world. This is not the machine age, it is the age of man. All our dealings begin with man and end with man. There is nothing else higher in this universe than man. To make a business grow, begin growing man, said Thomas J. Watson, head of probably the most stable and ethical character-building business in the world today. In vain we build the city if we do not also build the man, sings Edwin Markham. We need a university of man, suggests Dr. Alexis Carroll. Plans for man's physical, spiritual, and mental betterment, issued from the leaders of thought throughout all industry and many millions, were given by John D. Rockefeller, Jr., and other great philanthropists for that purpose. Medical help and hygiene replaced missionaries. Gerard Swope, Owen D. Young, Walter Chrysler, Myron C. Taylor, Clarence Woolley, the McCormicks, and the DuPonts offered various plans of profit sharing, bonus giving, and job insurance, including innumerable education plans, all aimed towards raising the standard of living for man in the mass. The growth was so rapid that in one generation a factory wage of 20 cents an hour for a 10 to 12-hour day grew to $1 and more for an 8-hour day. Through higher wages, human classes are gradually leveling in accordance with God's plan for the unfoldment of man. The power of the world thought of good will iron out all the differences between capital and labor in time, as we both grow stronger in the realization of their unity. When that day comes, United International Industry will become a culture-building force as enduring as art. Truly, one world of unified man is in the making. The troubles of today are but the labor pains of its birth. Our thinking is changing because our knowing is changing. Cosmic man is replacing material man. 2 centuries after we first heard the words, "Love thy brother as thyself," and "do unto others as you would have them do unto you," we are beginning to comprehend their full meaning. Full comprehension of their inevitability as universal law will give birth to a new civilization based upon love, as the universe itself is based upon love. And that is the end of that lecture titled The New World Thought. You know, as a side note, this was at the height of industry in America when this was written, and it really was an easier time, a better time than it is now. Beginning basically maybe a year after this book was published, we started to farm out all our industry, you know, to China and other countries, and it eliminated a lot of jobs in America, and we're still trying to get back industry here. I mean, we're working towards it, but you know, we've got all kinds of problems when it comes to international trade, and we don't have the infrastructure in place to basically be able to produce all our own products and components and things here anymore. We're still trying to get that back. So unfortunately, we kind of got off the wrong path with that. But that's just a side note of mine. Thank you for listening. If you like what I do here, please like, share, and subscribe to my like my videos and subscribe to my channel. Donations are always welcome and appreciated, but not necessary. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Okay, bye.